This is Holland Timmins, also known as the Connoisseur, and here is yet another video in the series of the comics that changed comics. And today we're looking at Frank Miller's Daredevil, with Frank Miller and Klaus Janson doing the inks. Daredevil is a popular Netflix show now, and it was a movie, which the good version of that movie is the director's cut, which is straight to video. But the director's cut is worth checking out if you like the Netflix show. But if you like the Netflix show, I'd highly recommend checking out the original Frank Miller comics. Daredevil was like Spider-Man Light, an Errol Flynn swashbuckling character created by Stan Lee. And, well, I forget who else. I think it was Gene Colan and Stan Lee created Daredevil, I believe. Anyway, as you can see, this is the Daredevil Omnibus, and as you can see, I have it signed by Klaus Janson and the creator Stan Lee. Probably shouldn't have shown that, but as you can see, Frank Miller took over the art duties for Daredevil, and yeah, he is a lawyer by day, a blind lawyer who is blinded by radioactive canister, and he gained superhuman senses and a radar sense, and he goes out at night and beats the living crap out of criminals. There's two billy clubs, and just a second. I think this introduced Bullseye. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first introduction of Bullseye, because I can't find any other reference to Bullseye before then. Daredevil obviously has several romantic love interests like Karen Page and Black Widow, but yeah. Obviously he went and he is the man without fear, and obviously the man without fear takes on the Hulk in one issue, and he gets the crap beaten out of him. It's like Daredevil's origin story where he has his yellow suit, and he is going after the guy who killed his father. The guy has a heart attack. It's really interesting stuff. Here he fights Dr. Octopus. Something you'll find is that Frank Miller really enjoyed going and taking Spider-Man villains and putting them in the Daredevil comics. That's something they did. They took Spider-Man villains and put them in the Daredevil comics. And here is the misspelled Elektra in her first appearance. And yeah, they go over her origin story, and it shows Matt in one of his early adventures in college, and yeah, it's like Elektra goes off and becomes an assassin after a tragedy befalls her father. It's really interesting stuff. This is the Elektra saga. There's the Kingpin. It introduces the Kingpin in a much more prominent role than he was in Spider-Man. And this is when Kingpin went from being a Spider-Man thug to being the arch-villain of Daredevil. And yeah, as you can see, Kingpin and Daredevil do in fact fight. But he has a whole rogues gallery. Not much of a rogues gallery. There's Kingpin, Bullseye, and Elektra. These are the main antagonists. Though really, there's other people like Stiltman, Turk, who's this low-level thug he keeps interrogating. Did I mention the Hand? Yeah. The Hand is a secret organization of ninja assassins that Daredevil tangles with. And Elektra was trained by the Hand. Yeah. So just a whole bunch of action and stuff. Is really cool. Daredevil's fighting the devil within him. And yeah, so like Power Man. It's just a lot of storyline in this comic. And this is where comics really changed. This is where comics became adult. When Bullseye kills Elektra. This was really a brutal loss of innocence for comics. And thing was, Elektra was more popular than Daredevil. And Frank Miller just knew he had to kill Elektra. And honestly, it didn't make a lot of business sense. But the editor was like, tell me a story, Frank. And so Frank told him the story and said, go ahead and write it. And thus is one of the best comic issues that came out. One of the most iconic images in comic issues. And then the Punisher shows up, you know. Actually, there was going to be a Daredevil cartoon, but one of the network executives bought this exact issue, saw Daredevil holding this revolver, and he's like, yeah, no thanks, we're not doing a Daredevil show. And thank goodness for that. But this is like during Frank Miller's Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry phase. So, yeah, it's a lot of stuff. And that is Daredevil by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. Daredevil was Batman before Batman became Batman. And what I mean by that is Frank Miller took Daredevil and reinvented him more into a dark urban vigilante crime fighter. This is like a crime noir comic with a vigilante in it, much like he would do with Batman later. And Daredevil really changed comics in a way that is still being felt today. Frank Miller changed comics in a way that is still being felt today. And this would not be the last time Frank Miller did something with Daredevil. Actually, there's the companion omnibus. As you can see, it's not signed, but there's some earlier comics, and yeah, this is Born Again. It has Born Again in it. Daredevil Born Again will be the plot line for Season 3 of the Netflix Daredevil, so I am looking forward to that. This actually introduced the Captain America villain known as Nuke, and yeah, it's really great. Nuke was a Daredevil villain before he was a Captain America villain. I believe Nuke shows up in the first season of Jessica Jones, and he'll be hopefully showing up in Season 3 of Daredevil. That will be nice. Captain America makes an appearance. It's a lot of different work by a lot of different artists, you know. And yeah, this is actually the comic they based Season 1 of the Netflix show off of. It is Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. The ultimate Daredevil origin story. Here you see how he was called Daredevil while being bullied as a child. You see how he got blinded. You see how he meets Stick, the death of his father, how he goes out and gets revenge. Stick abandons him. He goes to college. He meets Elektra, you know. It's like really great stuff. Really great artwork. Again, really great artwork by John Romita Jr. Really great writing by Frank Miller. And yeah, this is where the costume for the Man Without Fear, the Daredevil Season 1 costume, comes from. Yeah, this costume. If you've seen the Netflix Daredevil show, this costume is what inspired it, as well as the costume from Trial of the Incredible Hulk. So, yeah. What's interesting about this is that this script was going to officially be the Daredevil movie, and it didn't work out that way, so they turned it into a comic, and thank God they did. They actually added to the comic scenes that weren't in the original script, and yeah. Daredevil is one of the comics that changed comics. So, if you're looking for good comics, good crime noir comics, and if you're looking for a good superhero comic, you can't go wrong with Frank Miller's Daredevil. Frank Miller is one of the best writers in the industry. He's done a lot of great work that still continues to influence us to this day. He even influenced Hollywood, back when Hollywood was making good films. And, yeah, Daredevil. Daredevil is my favorite Marvel hero. I'll just say it right there. I love Daredevil. I discovered him while I was in high school, and I have a great affinity for the character. He's a very conflicted character. You know, he's a lawyer who's a vigilante. He is a Catholic who dresses up like a devil. He made a promise to his father not to get into fights like him. Then he puts on a mask to get into fights and break his promise. Just a lot of conflicting things about Daredevil, but it works. And a lot of it you have Stan Lee and Frank Miller to thank for. So, if you want good comics, check out Daredevil. If you like this video, comment, like, share, subscribe, and I will make more videos about the comics that changed comics. Alright, take care. This is the Connoisseur signing off.